Brighton beach horror attack. 3 illegal migrants have been sentenced today, Wednesday, the 15th of July, to lengthy prison sentences. And they are quite lengthy. So bravo to that judge for dishing out these sentences. 2 of them were sentenced to 21 years in prison each. And another was sentenced to 18 and a half years. Those are good sentences because normally for these type of offences, they're lucky if they get double digits. But these absolute wrong-uns, 3 illegal migrants. I will tell you a bit about the case. I'll talk through it in a minute. I will talk about this article in front of us. But these absolute wrong-uns, it says in a few of the articles, right, asylum seekers given lengthy prison sentences for rape of a woman on Brighton Beach. They're not asylum seekers, they're illegal migrants. And 2 of these wrong-uns, guess where they met each other? On a boat from France. On a small boat, crossing the channel illegally. And they become pals and ended up being sharing the same room. But these 3 were in an approved hotel for migrants or illegals. And they were prowling the streets in the early hours of the morning. So as they were out, unescorted, why would they be leaving the premises of a hotel? Illegal migrants have got no purpose leaving a manned hotel, because these hotels have got security on, so nobody can go in and film, or anybody for that matter can get in. But these are allowed undocumented migrants, fighting the edge men, are allowed to leave the hotel in the early hours without any explanation of what they're doing, and allowed to prowl the streets and look for women who are by themselves. And unfortunately, this poor lass was spotted by these wrong-uns in the early hours. She got lost from her friends. She was staggering along the front. She fell over a couple of times because she was intoxicated. And these 3 wrong-uns encountered her. Now, a normal, ordinary, upstanding man who sees a woman like this, who's in distress, drunk, fallen over, it's the early hours, what do? You get her help. You put her in a taxi. You make sure she's fine. You don't then take her behind a beach hut. These wrong-uns, 2 of them, took her behind the beach hut and began raping her, while the 3rd watched on recording it. And I'm going to tell you a bit more about the details. The details are graphic, so do be warned, people, because these details are graphic. And these wrong-uns were taking turns raping that poor lass behind the beach hut and absolutely degrading her. They weren't just doing that. They were strangling her, throttling her, spitting in her face, slapping her face, treating her like absolute dirt. These fucking wrong-uns are dirt. Shouldn't have even been in the UK to start with. And they're free to roam and do shit like this. It absolutely infuriates me. Because when I come on looking for stories, I could do these stories all day, every day. Because there's that many of them happening. There's that many of these type of offenders, illegal migrants, committing these sort of atrocities to the UK women and kids. It is absolutely outrageous. Not just the women and kids, men are getting murdered by these fucking wrong-uns as well. So, even though I've told you the details, I am going to go over this again. So, the woman had been separated from her friends on a night out when 2 of the men took her behind the beach hut and done that, while the 3rd went to the location moments later and captured the footage. So I've got these wrong-uns up in front of me now. Disgusting creatures, disgusting vermin, what they are. Let's see how big they are when they're separated inside of prison, and it's every man for themselves. Let's see how big they are then, eh? So, 2 asylum seekers were given 21 years each. I'll not go over that because it is just repeating things, but Ibrahim al-Sheikh, 26 from Egypt, and Abdullah Ahmadi, 26 from Iran, had both denied 2 counts each of the woman on the 4th of October last year, but they were found guilty and they were given 21 years each at Hove Crown Court today, Wednesday. Egyptian national Karen al-Danasert, 21, was found guilty of all 4 counts of rape as a secondary party by encouraging and filming the ordeal. He was sentenced to 18 years and 6 months in prison. All 3 will serve a further 6 years on extended license. Now, when I seen this at first, I thought, extended license? What the? Fuck the extended license. Once they've served the sentence, because don't just deport them, get the fucking sentences served, make them suffer inside of prison, then deport. Don't leave them on an extended license. Fuck the license. Once the jail's done, deport, never to return. And if they return, then it's prison to serve the remainder of the license if they try to sneak back in on another small boat, best of pals. So during the trial at Hove Crown Court, jurors heard the trio had found the woman staggering in the street, alone and incapacitated. Footage showed her falling down twice, with prosecutors describing the attack as cynical, predatory and callous. Al-Sheikh was also shown smiling and sticking his tongue out during the assault, as well as slapping the woman in the face. At the sentencing hearing on Wednesday, the woman read a victim impact statement saying, "They destroyed my life that night. They took something from me nobody had the right to do so. They violated me in every way. They done the fucking worst of the worst, that poor lass. I hope she does recover eventually, because what she has went through is absolutely disgusting." Sentencing the men, Judge Christine Henson, KC, said, "Each of you participated in an entirely predatory and callous attack on a female separated from her friends after what had been a fun night out for her. You each treated her with contempt, and you each played a role in degrading her in the most appalling way." And like I say, bravo again to that judge. Hats off. Well done for giving him, or these predators, that type of sentence, because it's not very often you see sentences that big getting dished out for these. Prosecutor Hannah Llewellyn Waters, KC, described the men as devoid of humanity, that's putting it kindly, and their treatment of the woman was entirely predatory, callous and contemptuous. She described the impact on the woman as extreme. In her victim impact statement, the woman, who cannot be named for legal reasons, added, "They took something from me that night. I'm afraid I will never get back." To not take accountability for their actions, like sticking a knife in and twisting it again. She told the court that when she closes her eyes, she sees the man filming it and laughing at me. "My skin crawls no matter how hard I scrub it. I still feel dirty," she added. What an absolute horrid thing to have to go through and endure. Incapacitated, drunk, lost from your friends, and 3 disgusting rotten humans, not even humans, the fucking dregs of society, doing that to her when she can't move, she's incapacitated. During the trial, all 3 men gave evidence through translators, no speaking English, to deny the crimes. Miss Llewellyn Waters said their accounts provided clear and chilling insight into a wholly warped mindset and a lack of total remorse. The whole lot of the wrong'uns that come over on the fucking boats illegally have got a warped mindset. They're from warped countries, and a total lack of remorse. Clear and chilling insight into a wholly warped mindset. It's a wholly warped ideology. Absolute fucking wrong'uns. Al-Sheikh and Ahmadi had claimed during the trial that the encounter was consensual and that she had approached them on the seafront, kissed them both and touched them, mentioned something about sex, and took them both to the beach. Well, CCTV said otherwise. You were seen approaching her, taking her away. She was falling down. You were picking her up and you took her behind the hut and used and abused her. You absolute wrong'uns. Al-Danasert, who claimed to jurors he attempted to stop the attack by filming it, also denied he spat in the woman's mouth and called her a dirty b. At the time of the incident, all three defendants knew each other and were living at hotel accommodation for asylum seekers near Horsham, West Sussex. Being taken in by the UK, given accommodation, fed, watered, given luxury items, and what do you do in return? You go and look for vulnerable women to violate them. Absolutely outrageous, disgusting, and it absolutely boils my PIS, as it does with every fucker who is sick of this going on inside of the UK. Should not be in the UK to start with, but going on and doing this after they've been welcomed in and given so much luxuries for free. So because they've been given everything for free, they think they can then take the women and the kids for free. The court heard Ahmadi and Al-Sheikh met on a small boat which arrived in the UK from France in June 2025. Al-Danasert had arrived in October 2024. Ministers have vowed to deport the men after they were sentenced. After the sentence is up, more like it. If they did get deported after the sentence, I wouldn't be surprised if they did actually do that. Give them big lengthy sentences so it looks as though they're doing justice for the country, but then backdoor them, give them 1,500 quid, put them on a flight and send them back. Hopefully not. Hopefully they get some justice inside the prison system, because obviously the offence that they're in for, they'll be going on protection. But there is that many of these type of predators now in the system. A lot of them are mixed in with the normal location lads going unnoticed, because like I've said, there is that many of them. The prisons are overrun. The prisons are rampacked enough as it is. And then adding into the mix hundreds and thousands of these wrong'uns. What do you think's going to happen in the system? What is actually already happening? But what is going to make it even worse? These lot are going to team up inside the system to back each other up and team up with each other, and back each other up. It is absolutely diabolical, outrageous. But a lot of them who are going on to normal location wings, a lot of the lads inside have got the blowers. They find out the names, they Google them, and then they find out who they are, and they don't last very long. They get put on protection, or they get bloodied, battered and bruised, and then put themselves on protection. Or some of them have been known, obviously the lads don't want to get extra time for inflicting violence on them. They don't want them on the wings, so they also shit the pads up. They get a bucket full of shit and piss and chuck it all over the pad. Sometimes they chuck it over them, chuck it on their heads. But doing it this way, they do obviously go in, chuck it in the pads. They don't get extra time on for doing that. Obviously, they will get put down the block if they get found out. If they get caught, which obviously 9 times out of 10 they do, because obviously the prisons are all CCTV'd up. But if they've got the ballies on and they walk past the pads, chuck a bucket of shit in, the pad is then isolated off, fumigated, then the wrong'un has to get moved off the wing, then they no longer have to live with them. But sometimes, like I say, when the bucket goes over them, it's a lot better. It's a lot better than them getting the pad shitted up, because then they have to feel exactly like they are, like shit. But I'm going to leave that one there for now, people. I just thought I would come on because I did talk about this one when it happened. I've covered it a couple of times. I covered it when it had first happened, talking about whether or not they got remanded into custody, which they did. And I spoke about the trial. Obviously, they took it to trial and they had to make the poor lass endure this trial because it was quite a lengthy trial. But the sentences that they received as well is a parole sentence. Because it's extended license, it's an extended sentence. They must serve at least 2/3 of their prison terms before becoming eligible for parole. So they'll have to serve 14 years. Then they'll have to go for parole. And if they don't get parole, they could end up serving around about 18 years, I do believe, something of the sort. But then obviously the additional 6 years on extended license after release. But hopefully, like I say, they'll serve the majority of that sentence. Then they'll get deported, and hopefully they'll get a good flogging back in their home country when they arrive there. But like I say, people, I'm going to leave that one there for now. Hopefully you are enjoying the content, and if you are, remember to comment, like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day, people, but most importantly, stay safe.